Where else but in politics mean what they say? But we all know they don't. Where else but in politics is blurting out the truth considered a gaffe? And it is. We all see it from time to time. Somebody leaves the microphone on when he thinks it's off, and he blurts out the truth, and that becomes a scandal. Do we want to live in a world where the truth is scandalous? Well, that's the world we live in, actually. A world of pretense and make-believe.
Was a wonder, and I wasn't in Austin, Texas, the liberal area. I was in Wichita Falls. I was in Denton. I was in rural areas, conservative areas, and they were really, really good with me. Mm-hmm. But I want to be clear, overall, political parties, neither side. Trump doesn't care. Barack Obama didn't care. I want to bring this up because I remember watching this on TV, and I understand Obama is more intelligent than Trump is. But when it comes to animal issues, he's a hillbilly, just like everybody. Everybody goes from PhD philosopher to hillbilly when you ask them to be nice to an animal. That horrible thing that happens in America on Thanksgiving, they pardon a turkey. One turkey gets his or her life spared. Well, Barack pardons the turkey. I'm watching it on TV. They didn't realize they left the microphone on. After he pardons the turkey, he leans over to his crew and he says, "Somebody better get that turkey away from me before I change my mind."
Holy shit.
Oh, Mr. Philosopher, brilliant genius, Stephen Hawking type person. All of a sudden, an innocent being is being tormented and killed. And does he want to actually save that innocent being? No. Like Donald Trump, like everybody else on this planet, he wants to kill and torture because he's incapable of extending compassion to those who need it most. So everybody, please know that. Stop just condemning one side and thinking the other side is great. Bernie Sanders, who's hailed as a liberal hero, he works for the dairy industry. He doesn't get it either. Okay, the left-wingers don't get it, the right-wingers don't get it.
Now, of course, this isn't the case by accident. It serves various purposes. And it serves the purposes especially of incumbents, of the rich, the established, the connected, the people with political influence and clout. They like this kind of world of fake because they know what's going on and they know how to work the system. And the fakery is for the general public. It's for the people who don't have active, immediate involvement in what's going on in government and politics, and who have to be kept from becoming too restive.
So I'm not crazy about political parties. Now, I did hear something nice about, maybe you can help me because I don't follow politics worldwide, Animal Justice Party somewhere in Australia, maybe? Have you heard of this? Somebody at the Cube of Truth said something. So if it's really an animal rights party that's going to get involved,
yeah,
I can get behind that, although I have my doubts whether I have doubts whether major change can be made within an unjust political system. Mm-hmm. The system is corrupt, and I don't even think well-intentioned people can make change in a corrupt system. I think the system has to be broken down and destroyed and rebuilt. I think the foundations have to be knocked down and rebuilt from scratch to make it effective.
Gotcha.
If people knew the truth, they'd have their pitchforks out and be coming into this city. To set fires, probably, but they don't, and they're not going to find out either, because the world of politics, where politics matters, is all played between the 45-yard lines. Nobody wants to get outside the bounds of what is good form. No one wants to speak the plain truth. Everybody wants to hem and haw and cover up one's announcements and statements about how the system works. It depends on what exactly you're seeking to change. If we're seeking to change like the whole system, well, I think we need to reconsider what we're doing. Changing the system is too big a task. It's too big a bite to swallow in any imaginable gulp. We can only change either elements of the big system, or try to change elements, or we can, as it were, forget the system and try to save ourselves, individually or along with our families, perhaps. I don't discourage either way of attempting to bring about change, and I think change can be brought about in various ways. I think politics is a waste of time. The system is bought and sold. You're wasting your time to try to influence how the political system works. But you can influence how you are affected by the system as it operates. You can look for open spaces in the system, interstices that you can squeeze into to avoid or evade regulations or taxes. You can look for ways to opt out. You can, for example, save your children from the horrible fate of attending public schools by homeschooling them, or in some cases sending them to private schools. Homeschooling has been one of the most successful moves to get away from the grip of the state and its nefarious effects on the minds of children. You know, this has been disastrous. The events that have brought us to our current condition in this country have been passed on to children and beaten into them and indoctrinated into them so heavily that, you know, it's hard to see how people who've been exposed to that kind of indoctrination can ever even have a concept of freedom or liberty. So homeschooling has been an effective way of saving people's children from the state. Just as we all think, you know, there ought to be separation of church and state, for identical reasons, there ought always to be separation between school and state, between education and state. The mind is too important to let politicians and their running dogs take control of it. And I think it's disgraceful that people have, over time, submitted, as most of them have. You know, we can all understand the economic pressures and other reasons that people have for sending their children to government schools, but nonetheless, it's a terrible development. And if we want to work toward changing the system by changing the ruling ideology, to do that while kids continue to attend government schools is like tying a big sea anchor to our ship. It's very difficult to make headway when every generation is being dragged down by these political correctness centers